You are listening to Productivity Straight Talk with your host, Amber De La Garza. Amber is a sought-after productivity coach, trainer, speaker, and writer who gives entrepreneurs the straight talk on personal productivity. No BS, fluff, or overused jargon. Just actionable strategies to get results and succeed in business. And here is your host, Amber De La Garza, the Productivity Specialist.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to Productivity Straight Talk. Today is episode 114, the must-dos and your better nots of hiring a virtual assistant with Mary Baird-Wilcock. If you're an entrepreneur who wants actionable solutions to maximize profits, reduce stress, and make time for what matters most, then you're in the right place, and I'm so glad you've joined me. I'm looking forward to bringing this episode to you because you're going to meet our guest, Mary. Mary has one goal in her company: to help people simplify their lives. With over 15 years of experience in running her own company, she coaches creative entrepreneurs on how to simplify and optimize the operation sides of their small businesses. Mary is the host of the Simplifiers podcast, where she takes topics in business and in life and simplifies them. Her podcast has thousands of devoted listeners in 89 countries around the world and is rapidly growing. An international public speaker who has been published in Forbes magazine, Huffington Post, MSN, Metro, and featured as one of the top 25 young event pros to watch by Special Events magazine. When listening in on my conversation with Mary, you will discover what to outsource to your VAs, why you need to see your VAs as partners, not employees, 4 places to find reliable, smart VAs, the grilled cheese method for documenting your processes, and so much more. Now, before we dive into meeting Mary, I want to share with you one of the ways that we could possibly work together. Do you prefer the fast lane? Well, then this program is for you. I've created my VIP Accelerator program because I know some people prefer the fast lane. If you want to completely overhaul your productivity and immerse yourself in transformation, and you want to do it in the most efficient way possible, I invite you to join me for a full-day hybrid of private coaching and training combined with follow-up coaching. Together, we'll overcome challenges you're facing in your business and accelerate your success. Just head on over to theproductivityspecialist.com/VIP to learn more. And I may be coming to a city near you. I want you to be thinking New York, Orlando, San Diego, maybe even Texas. So head on over and find out where I'm going to be for the next VIP day bookings. And now, let's get to the straight talk. Hi, Mary. Welcome to Productivity Straight Talk. How are you doing today?
I am so glad to be here. Can we geek out about productivity and stuff? This is going to be so much fun.
I know. We actually just got done geeking out on your podcast, the Simplifiers podcast. And when we did, I was like, you need to be on my podcast. Like, this will be great. And I often do that when I feel like there's great chemistry and great conversation to be had. I always want to hit record when that happens.
Totally. Yeah.
And the treat for our listeners is that we're talking about 2 completely different things. And so it'll be great for them to jump over and listen to me on yours. And then now they will get you here too as well.
Yeah. So the area that we're going to talk about today on your podcast is all about virtual assistants. So that's where we're going to geek out here.
Yes. You know, I pinch myself sometimes when I realize that my business is mostly almost, maybe like 90% virtual and that my team's virtual. And when I was a kid, this wasn't even a thought, right? Like, this just goes to show how much our economy and our world has changed. And
Totally.
So I really want to have this conversation because while it's changed for a lot of us, I think it's still something that is the unknown. It's fearful. Like, how do you build culture? How do you hire? How do you know that who you're hiring is great? And I think we're going to touch on a lot of that. But before we jump in, Mary, can you share with our listeners in your own words a bit about yourself? And why am I talking to you about how to hire a VA? Like, connect some dots for us.
Totally. So, a long time ago in a land far, far, far away, actually 16 years ago in Austin, Texas, I started a little company called The Simplifiers. And the beautiful irony of calling your company The Simplifiers is that your life becomes incredibly complex. And so, 16 years ago, The Simplifiers were actually an events management company. So, we produce large scale events of all shapes and sizes for non traditional clients. So we had clients like Facebook and Microsoft and hundreds of weddings. So imagine that the person that you're hearing in your earbuds right now, she is super detail oriented. She is the project manager to the max. And that is like my lifeblood. That is who I am. But as any good business goes, you evolve over time. And, the reality is that I moved the company over to the UK in 2014. And that was a perfect point to pivot and change the business and out of events and into business coaching, public speaking, and now as a podcaster for the Simplifiers podcast. Well, a new development has come from shifting our business and the evolution of it is that we now have a division of our company called Hire a Simplifier, where, I'm starting to hear it over and over and over again with my clients. It's like, well, yeah, that all sounds well and good. And, I know I have 24 hours just like Beyonce, but holy cow, I can't seem to get all the things done. And I know you teach this with your listeners and your clients about, really making sure that you, the business owner, is focusing on the high yielding activities and tasks, the ones that push the needle forward, that really generate revenue, and then delegate all of the lower yielding tasks to somebody else. So I kept hearing this over and over again. Where do I find great people? How do I hire a virtual assistant? And I go back to the team and said, hey guys, what if we let people hire you guys as virtual assistants? And they were like, well, I'm down with trying that. And then that just took off like crazy.
Hold on. So it started with you offering to outsource your own team for hours?
That's it.
Wow.
That's it. It's okay. Our virtual team is literally my team. They are literally the people that help me run the Simplifiers as well. And now that's grown and taken off and into its own thing as well. And so, yeah, we have a whole team of virtual assistants who are in 3 different countries, the US, UK, and Canada. So we have great coverage on time zones, and it's an incredible thing. So now I love teaching people how to hire their very first virtual assistant, whether it's from our team or somebody else in the world, giving you the basics that you need to know so you can hit the ground running as soon as this episode is finished.
Right. Okay. So before we jump into how to hire a VA, I think that maybe we take one little step back and meet people where they may be at, like, well, what's possible? Like, what is actually possible to outsource to a VA? I think is one of the first questions we get. Unless you're already kind of immersed in the world, it's kind of limiting to even think who to hire or how to hire before you know what can you hire for.
Totally.
And so can you give us some examples of things that you outsource or people that you've seen outsource virtually? And then I'll give some examples in my business as well.
Brilliant. So if you are listening to this episode right now, I would highly, highly recommend, if you're in front of a computer, to go ahead and type this into your URL, thesimplifiers.com/hire a V as in Victor, A as in Apple. Put that into your browser right now, because that's the freebie for today's episode, is that this will lead you through a process of actually creating and writing your very first creative brief, the thing that you're going to send off to a virtual assistant when you hire them. And that's going to follow along our conversation today. So yes, what do you delegate? In my opinion, it is super simple. High yielding tasks are one of 3 things for me. They are sales, they are client relations, and they are design work. The thing, that special sauce thing that you do, only you, that you couldn't possibly delegate off. So those 3 things, sales, client relations, and design work, if you're creative, they stay yours. Everything else you can delegate. Like literally every single other thing in your business. You can delegate. And I would also take it one step further. One of my mentors is Danielle Laporte. She writes a book called The Desire Map. And her core message in the Desire Map is this, is that you need to make sure as a business owner that the things that you fill your day with are giving you the core desired feelings that you want as a business owner. So yeah, we are really good at building golden hamster wheels where we're really, really, really busy and we go, 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 go. But if we're doing all these tasks that aren't actually lighting you up from inside, that are inspiring you and exciting you, that are giving you those core desired feelings, like, why are you doing it? Like, bottom line, why? Because I'm willing to bet a nickel there is somebody somewhere out there in the world who's a virtual assistant who can do it faster, cheaper, and I dare say better than you. So delegate all the tasks that drain you. And let's just have a real kind of come to Jesus moment here. If sales, client relations, or your design work drains you, you might think about changing what your business is.
Right. Or how you're delivering. So just to clarify,
you can't delegate that.
You speak to a lot of creatives. So when you're saying design work, I want everyone else to translate that to like however you serve your clients. So whether you're a financial advisor, an interior designer, you're selling real estate, there's something that you do to provide the service. That's the thing that generally you cannot outsource.
Yes, that's it.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. So there's a lot of things that came up for me here. And I think that it's worth talking about. I think that the obvious thing is we think we can do it better. And I think both of us should echo this so that it's coming in both earbuds to our listeners. Is like, there are so many people out there that can actually do things so much better than you. That unless you're in your zone of genius, which is what you're saying, truly. I remember I used to actually have it as a creative outlet. Like I enjoyed doing social media imagery on Canva.
Yeah.
And I remember and I used to rationalize it as my free time. Like I'd be on my laptop with like Netflix on or something and I would just be playing because it wasn't a deadline thing. It was something that I really kind of enjoyed doing. And then one day I was like, well, let me just see what my assistant can do. So I outsourced this to her and I got it back and I was like, I should have never been touching design work for my business ever. Like she put me to shame. And so we used that as a tool and I empowered her from that point forward. I was like, if you see something that I'm doing and you think you can do it better, tell me. There will be no insult here. Like how many images did you see that you looked at or that you were like, I could totally nail that better than you. And you don't want to say that because of like respect. And so now we use that as a barometer. Like, hey, if there's something you want to take on your plate or you think that you can do it better, like please take it off my plate.
Yeah. And that's it. And I think that, if the step before figuring out what you're going to delegate is really starting to journal and discover your why. Like, why do you want to hire a virtual assistant? What do you hope it'll solve? And then also doing a little bit of soul searching and journaling it out of like, what feels heavy right now in your business? What would it feel like to have a virtual team supporting you rather than feeling like, oh my God, I do all the things. I wear all the hats. I do it all the time, right?
Right.
Like, what would it feel like if you carried less? And I think that that's a hard question for most of us. I mean, raise your hand if you're a type A control freak. Hello. We are all card carrying members at one point in our lives, and never is it more true of the Frozen song of let it go, because you have this belief that you think, well, only I can do that. Only I can create the graphic design for my social media. Only I understand my brand voice, as well as I do. And you got to let it go. You have to let it go because you will never scale your business. You will never have enough time to truly focus on sales, client relations, picking up that phone and closing the deal, and actually delivering the work that is so uniquely yours to deliver. You got to let it go.
Yes. So two things to that. When you use the word heavy, I translate it and I often speak to what are the things that you're having the most resistance to? What are you procrastinating on? What's not getting done? What feels and like that, like what feels heavy, but it shows up in a lot of different ways. It's not going to be the thing that gets done no matter what's happening. Those are the things that you probably enjoy doing. or come easier to you. And so
Yep.
a great place to start is things that aren't getting done that should be getting done, or things that aren't getting done that you would like to get done that could attribute to the growth of your business.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah. And I said two things and now I forgot the second thing. So we'll circle back when I remember.
Well, and again, this is part of the process. You've maybe never gotten off the hamster wheel. You're just go, 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 go. And you're not really taking that time to do a little bit of a self-assessment. And again, reminder, go into that freebie, thesimplifiers.com/hire a VA, because there's writing exercises incorporated in that help you discern, like, okay, set a 7-minute timer and list out all the tasks that are currently on your shoulders right now.
Yeah.
And, every single thing, even at home, like I do the laundry, I do the school run, I do this, I do that. Like it's all part of the same basket of what you're accomplishing in any given week, right?
Yes.
And then the second step on that is you put a star next to the things that are hell yes, like the things that are like energize you and get you excited and you love, love, love to do. And then you put a big fat X around the things that drain you, that are hell no's, that you're like, oh, I just wish I knew somebody that I could delegate this to. Like, I don't know the first thing about, being a virtual webmaster or figuring out the plugins from updates on WordPress. Like, yes, you could figure it out because you're a brilliant person and you're an entrepreneur and you think fast, but how much time is it going to take you to figure it out on your own, that if you could delegate it off, that you can focus on those higher yielding tasks? When you start to take that self-assessment and you see it very clearly on the paper, like what are my hell yeahs versus my hell no's, then you can start to really begin to write that VA creative brief. Okay, so I'm realizing that I don't want to be handling my website or WordPress or, webmaster work or doing uploads and all the things. So I'm going to delegate that. Okay, brilliant. What are my company goals? What am I hoping to accomplish this year? And how does delegating this off your plate help you get one step closer to achieving your goals? Then you can really start to deep dive into, okay, well, what kind of qualifications do I need? I need somebody I can trust, somebody who's good at communication, somebody who knows WordPress and the back end of it, and somebody who's not going to charge me $1 bazillion to do it and can dial it down and tell me, explain to me as if I was an 8-year-old what's going on with the back end of my website so I can make decisions quickly.
Right.
This is part of the process.
So let me ask you this. So once we do this brain dump and this and journaling, like what are hell yeses and what are hell no's, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let's just say that it doesn't nicely, neatly fit into a package of like all web stuff or all online stuff. Let's say it's like graphic design and then it's financial bookkeeping and then it's updating the website. What is your advice about that? Do you advise hiring a general VA that says they have skill sets and all these things, or would you say hiring out for specific buckets of types of tasks?
Okay, so great question. I get this a lot, and here's my thoughts on it. There is never, ever going to be the magic unicorn virtual assistant who can do all the things really, really well. Mm-hmm. There are going to be loads of VAs that you're going to go to their website and they're going to say, oh, I do all of this and I do all of this over here and then I can do all of this over there and now I also do all of this. Don't believe them. Bottom line, there are maybe 2 or 3 things that they do really well. Again, using Danielle's framework, the things that light them up, that get them excited. Oh my God, I love spreadsheets. Oh my God, I love bookkeeping. Oh my God, I love, blah, whatever it is, right? So don't believe them when they say that they can do all the things, and nor should you hire them to do all the things. So this is the secret, you guys. Virtual assistants do not expect you to hire them for 10, 20, 40 hours a week. They may only do 5 hours a month for you. But you know what? It's super laser focused 5 hours and they're getting a lot accomplished in a very short amount of time. And so you may have 3, 4, 5 VAs that are helping you in various aspects. One that's just for graphic design, one that's helping wrangle your email in your inbox, one that's helping as your virtual webmaster. And that's okay. This is where the shift in your mindset has to change, because a lot of times, and really literally, the technology's caught up with this to be able to do it in only the last 5 years or so. When I first started my company, I was, again, just the same as most everybody, a traditional business, right? I have to hire a person as an intern, right? And then groom them and teach them from the ground up. And then they became a part-time employee, which turned into a full-time employee. And all of a sudden, I was building this beautiful, gold encrusted hamster wheel that had really big payroll. That was just this massive machine. And now you don't need to do that. A VA is completely different. You may hire them for 5 hours a month. They are a leaner machine. They are not an inexperienced, straight out of college kind of person. There's so much more ability to hire a bigger team that works short amounts of time for you, and it actually costs you less.
Yes. Okay, so I remembered what I was going to say, and then I have one other thing. So when you were talking about that you could hire a VA for 5 hours a month, that doesn't seem like a ton. Obviously, that actually seems good if you're thinking of, if I have to pay this person, maybe a specialty rate. Maybe they're, have a specialty, like they're a high-end graphic designer. So you might be paying a higher rate, but it's only 5 hours. But what you're really reclaiming, and you need to look at what that value is did it take you 10 hours to do the same amount of work as they got done in 5?
That's right.
And it was never as polished or good. And how frustrating was that for you? So for me, I'm always looking at like, well, that would possibly take me maybe twice as long. And it's also opportunity cost lost. So if I know my hourly rate and my hourly rate for 10 hours is X, that's also opportunity loss on top of that. Is that's 10 hours that I'm not doing what you opened up this episode with, is sales, servicing your clients, client relationships, because we only have so much time. So that's where I find so much value in hiring in specialty like this as well.
Totally. 100% agree. And, we're all guilty of this. We will piddle around with graphic design because we're like, oh, well, I'll just knock it out. I'll just do it. And it's mindless work to avoid doing the high yielding task, the picking up the phone and calling a prospect and closing a deal, or asking for a pitch proposal opportunity, or going out and trying to get press and media for your business, because that's scary stuff, right?
Yes.
But the truth is, yes, a virtual assistant a lot of times will be super experienced at this specific niche target tasks. So I'm not asking my graphic designer VA to be my webmaster. I'm not asking my VA who helps me with project management to do my bookkeeping. It's very specific people for very specific tasks. And that a lot of times, you guys, virtual assistants tend to be the best ones, I find, tend to be actually stay-at-home moms. Moms who have started off in the corporate 9 to 5, jumped off to have kids, want to get their feet back into doing work, but they don't want to work 40 hours a week anymore. There are people who maybe have 10 years of experience in their background, that are just looking for a few hours a month. And so you pay them more per hour. We're not talking a $10 an hour kind of person, right? You pay them more, but they're highly experienced and they batch their work. So they're super efficient for you, knocking things out, sometimes 2 to 3 times faster than you would have done on your own.
I agree. So both of my assistants that are my VAs that are on my team on a regular basis are both moms. They're both stay-at-home moms. And for me, this is one of my core values. And I didn't even realize it until it started happening. It's like, I feel so blessed that not only does my business serve my clients, it serves my family, but now there's 2 families that I'm helping provide for through the work offering. And now they get to be and work their schedule and be at, school events with their kids and work on nap times and after the kids go to sleep. And so when I set up both of those roles, both roles were able to be flexible enough that provided them those options, right? Like I didn't need to say, I need you working from 9 to noon, 5 days a week. Maybe in the future, that's something I need. But for right now, I really valued the fact that I could employ moms that wanted to stay at home while their kids were young.
Totally. Now, this takes a mind shift as well for people that are listening. When you hire an employee, you're the boss, they're the worker, right? And you actually go through an interview process, right? When you're hiring a VA, it's not how do I interview them? That's the wrong question to ask. The better question to ask is, are they a good fit for what the company needs right now? And think about it this way. This is the shift, is that a VA is not your employee. They're not reporting to you. You are not the boss. You are their client, and they are your partner that they are helping you get from point A to point B, right? So a virtual assistant a lot of times is a small business owner themselves. That's the beauty of it. They get where you're at and how you're juggling 80 bazillion things because, hey, guess what? They've probably got a handful of clients that they're juggling as well. So this is really, it takes such a paradigm shift in your mind, is that you're not their boss. You're not doing annual reviews with them. You're not training them from the ground up on how to do their job. They're coming to the table saying, hey, I'm really good at graphic design, or hey, I'm really good at virtual webmaster work, and what tasks do you need help with today?
Yes. When I went through this last hiring process, I remember at the time that you would have, I guess, normally made a job offer, I scheduled a circle back call and just said, I'd like to meet with you at X time at X date for you to determine if I'm a client of yours and if you'll be a client of mine. Like, are we both saying yes to this?
Mm-hmm,
and,
totally.
We actually used, types of those words. And I think it's true as an employee, like an employee, even if you're interviewing, they have to want the position and think that it's a good fit. But I was acutely aware that this last round of hiring was more like I was being interviewed and I needed to be so clear about what I needed, what I wanted, what are my expectations, so that the person that was saying yes could say yes as me as a client as well.
Yeah, totally. It goes both ways, right?
Yeah.
So before I forget to mention this, I want to actually also tell you guys like how and where to find reliable, super smart virtual assistants as well.
Oh my gosh. I think that's the big question, right? Like,
yes. Okay. So first and foremost, there are 4 different places in my mind. One, you could hire a VA through an agency, just the same as like the Simplifiers. 2, you could find them on Fiverr, FIVERR.com. And you can do it just project based only. Like, oh, I need somebody to design a logo, or I need you to do this specific task. You could 3, get referrals, like ask other small business owners that you know in your networking group or otherwise online, like who has a great VA, and if it's somebody that is only doing a few hours for them a month and they love working with them, they're definitely going to refer you to them because they want to make sure she or he is, getting paid and has great cash coming in and all that. And then 4, think about some of the private Facebook groups that you are subscribed to and, put the call out and say, hey, I'm looking for a virtual assistant who is an expert at WordPress. Who would you recommend? And likely there are going to be some VAs that are already sitting inside that Facebook group that are going to say, hey, I put my hand up. Or other people that say, oh my God, Leiden's so great at blah, 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 blah. Here's his contact information. So yeah, those are the 4 places in my mind to start. And just a word to the wise, a couple of things to think about. You get what you pay for. So if you see somebody out there that's saying that they can do it for $5 an hour or $8 an hour and they're based in Bangladesh, like that's fine. I'm not saying anything against Bangladesh. I'm sure there's some incredibly intelligent people there. But I want you to think about, A, do they speak English? And, that's really important for you to be able to have clear, open communication back and forth with them on what you specifically want and or need. 2, is the time zone difference more than 12 hours plus? Because if that's reality, if they're on one side of the planet and you're on the other, it's going to be really hard for you to chat with them in real time, have any sort of video check-in calls, because it literally will be impossible for you to do it. I find the sweet spot actually is to hire a VA who is not local, who is anywhere from 5 to 8 hours before or after you. And here's the beauty of that, in my opinion. 5 to 8 hours is a sweet spot because they can be doing work while you're asleep and you can be doing work while they're asleep. And then all of a sudden you wake up and you come to the office 8:30 in the morning. You're like, oh my God, magic. It's like, here are all these tasks that got done. And they've sent you a couple of questions on them, blah, blah, blah. And then again, in that 5 to 8 hours sweet spot, you can find time where you're both awake, you're both in front of your computer, and you can have, Slack conversations or get on a video chat. And then, again, you also want to look at their past reviews. What do they say? Real people saying nice things about them. If you see things on Fiverr that just look too good to be true, you have to question, are they created by bots or not? So this is really, really, really important when you start to go out there and search for your next VA.
Okay, that's really good. And I love that you shared the 4 different places. I think that I've sourced multiple places at once each time I've hired, right? Like I may go to, and I use Upwork, and I've had great experience with Upwork, which is like a much higher end of Fiverr. It's all independent contractors that specialize in things. But I'll always hit up my referrals, my network, and ask, like, who are you using? Does your VA have extra hours? Would you recommend them? And definitely getting permission to post in Facebook groups and stuff like that. But let's talk about what it would look like if they worked with an agency, because I have not personally done that yet. And I've got to tell you, like, hiring through the other 3 ways wasn't always the easiest. So what does it look like? It worked. It ended up working,
Yes.
but it was not easy. It wasn't quick. It was a long process. So what would that look like if somebody worked through an agency such as yours?
Yeah, so totally. I think some distinct differences are if you're working through an agency, they know what they're doing. That's one assumption and hope that that's the truth. And you would have an account manager and you would have the actual virtual assistant. So one of the beauties with working with our VAs is that we have multiple people on the team, which means you might have multiple VAs simultaneously working on just different aspects of your business. So Kristen might be helping to wrangle your database and CRM systems, and Leiden might be helping with the back end of your webmaster work, and like you're optimizing your website and your SEO. So that's what's nice too, is that you've got one point person with the account manager, and then the tasks get assigned out to the right person with the right skill set there as well. So I think that that's one of the clear things. And then also your account manager, that person you go on to a discovery call with, when you describe, okay, well, these are the tasks that I want to delegate off. If it is a reputable agency, they will also say to you, hey, you know what? It's not a fit for us. Like, we're not really good at this specific work. I would recommend that you talk to so-and-so for blah, blah, blah. Again, where if you go straight to a VA, an individual who's just trying to get their business off the ground, they're more likely to go, yeah, I do all that. I could do all those things, and not really be an expert at 80 bazillion things. Whereas I think an agency and an account manager will be much more direct with you and say, hey, these are the 3 or 4 areas, especially that we're really good at. And, I think this task can be assigned to this person and have a run date of this, and da, 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 da.
So does the account manager project manage for you? Is that sort of like an additional?
Yeah, to a certain extent as well. Right. So like if you know that you've got a big product launch coming out and you're opening the cart, I don't know, September 1st, let's say, and you've got these 10 tasks that need to happen before that big launch happens, then they can help you understand what are the first tasks to delegate and what's the estimate of time that's going to be needed for it. I personally don't recommend that you just simply hire a VA on a retainer of hours without very specifically knowing what projects or tasks you're going to delegate first. So this is why I say this, because you will be so much more efficient with your money and with your time if you come to the table with that creative brief and say, hey, I want to generate, I don't know, 12, 15 social media images for, my social media accounts for the next month. Okay, brilliant. Well, let's batch that. What do you want to look like? What does it want to say? Blah, 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 right? Rather than saying, oh, I just want to hire a graphic designer, VA, and, kind of figure it out as we go along. Because you know how it happens when you figure things out as you go along. You waste a lot of time, you waste a lot of money, and the person that you are trying to delegate work to is sort of sitting there going, well, I don't know what she wants me to do next. And it's just not efficient.
Right, right. I think that one thing that's worth talking about is I speak about it a lot, but your high value activities are one of 4 buckets. It's in fact something I talked about on your episode. And so what this is making a conscious effort of like, you are going to be investing time in the leadership bucket. And so it is going to take time, like to invest in yourself, you have to invest in others and to really set them up for success. And one of the things that I think I do really well is I'm looking at the long-term investment. And so I don't get, I don't know, annoyed or put off. Like I make it a priority to really get clear about what it is I need, try and get as clear as I can about what I want, and then also train them in my ways, especially if I'm bringing somebody on longer term, not just like a specific project. And I want people to hear this because it's not like you just hire somebody and they're supposed to magically know what it is you want. It's actually impossible. And so you can't transfer like your frustration to them because they're not mind readers.
Right.
So if it seems like a mess in your head and you don't even know what you want, like if you asked yourself, okay, so what do I want out of this project? And you can't answer that, you have a big problem because nobody's going to be able to meet those standards because you don't even know what they are. So what I loved is your form that you're sharing with us actually is an exercise to get clear and like actually do the work that it takes to successfully offboard what it is and end results and projects and things that you want.
That's it. Totally. And getting laser focused in on what you want to let go of and, putting a sort of a time limit as well. Like, okay, let's test it for the next 30 days. Let's set a budget for the next 30 days to outsource my webmaster work or outsource whatever. And, that becomes the test run. And if it doesn't work, then reassign to a different VA or, change to a different agency entirely. That's the beauty of this, like versus going through the whole process of hiring a full-time employee and having to train a green person all the way up from scratch. You're investing all this time, money, and energy. And, maybe is not the right person. It's not a fit. Then you have to start all over. It's funny you should mention this because this is something that we also heard when we started the Hire a Simplifier program is that a lot of times, a lot of small business owners, and raise your hand if this is you and you're listening to this episode now, they have never documented their systems and processes. There is no training manual. It all exists in their brain, right? If you get hit by a bus tomorrow, please, I hope not. It's all gone. Right.
Yeah.
And so this is one of the things that our team actually specializes in is we actually have VAs who are incredible at this that help you actually create and document your training manual bit by bit, telling and explaining how you do a certain task in your company, putting into an amazing online document that's a living and breathing, growing document that you can then also delegate off to an assistant or VA in the future. It's solid gold.
Yes. So one of the things that I think that gets people stuck on is like they don't know how to articulate it into a process, right? Like they've been just figuring it out and winging it. And then they go to hire somebody and it's really hard to train when you're winging it. Mm-hmm. And I would say that I'm definitely more on the obviously more organized and process focused thinking naturally, but I even find it too tedious to sit down and write out like procedures on and slowing down that slow to write it all out.
Yep.
And so every time I hire someone, like their primary responsibility is everything that I'm teaching them needs to get documented. And I give them an outline of like what that should look like. I give them examples of things that have already been documented and they have got to document it. So like my personal assistant / nanny, she created a home manual. Crystal, she has created checklists and processes and like notes for any time she does a process, like do this, don't do this. This is how Amber likes it, like preferences. And then now Jenny, she's the newer person on the team and she's responsible for the same thing. And so we use combination of checklists, procedures, and then also like Loom videos, like walkthroughs, like if there's something particular. And so I guess what I'm saying is, yes, you need to have an idea of like what it's going to look like and what you're doing, but also you can co-create it if when you hire, they know that's one of their primary responsibilities.
Totally 100%. You have to co-create it because if you are a business owner, you're likely a visionary, you're an ideas person, and this is like a slow death to you. Like to sit down and
Yes.
actually systemize how you do your magic. So, yes, you have to have somebody else who's super detail oriented sitting there holding your hand and doing that process with you. And here's the best way to imagine this type of work. Okay, so imagine you're trying to explain to an 8-year-old how to make the most ultimate grilled cheese sandwich. And you're thinking, duh, Mary, that's like bread, butter, and cheese, right? Like, how hard can it be? Aha. That's where you're wrong. So, if you're documenting the steps of doing a task from A to Z, let's say how to write a blog post for your company, right? You think bread, butter, and cheese, like how hard can it be? But actually, there's, what type of bread are you buying? Are you doing brioche or sourdough? Are you buttering the bread on the inside of the bread or the outside of the bread? Do you put Parmesan on the butter and, crust it all up? Like there's all these subtle nuances that are part of that documentation process that you know instinctively because you've been running your business for so long, or it's just such a second nature thing to you that if you were to delegate it off to somebody else, that they don't even realize that it's all of those other things that go in play. So I believe the power of a 7-minute timer, like this is literally one of my super weapons, is take your phone, set a 7-minute timer, shut down everything on your computer, all the tabs, close it down, everything else, shut it down, right? Have a person sitting in front of you or a virtual assistant on a video call who is literally documenting as you talk about it. And you explain out like you're explaining to an 8-year-old, like, here's how we do this. Steps 1 through 20. Go. 7 minutes. And then all of a sudden you have documented all of those steps in 7 minutes that you think in your head, oh my God, that's going to take forever. I would never have time to actually build a training manual. And you've actually done it bit by bit, step by step.
Yes, I do. I love that you referenced it as being a living document. I agree. So this isn't like a project that's done and you do it and it's over. And the only way this is going to work is if it's the forefront of your team and your mind all the time. Like, okay, Amber changed her mind again. Please update, the procedure manual, or, that program doesn't work that way. Like everyone needs to be on the same page. Like go back and keep things updated because you may do all the work of like 7 minutes, 7 minutes, and 7 minutes of like creating it the first time. But then if you don't have a maintenance plan, it's going to be this big, ugly project again. So and then as soon as it gets outdated, now no one references it because they trust their heads, better than what the documentation is. And
That's
so I
right.
love that you use the verbiage like a living document. Mary, when you say online, like, are we talking just a Google Doc? Is there a particular program that you recommend? What does this actually look like?
Yeah, we love Google Docs personally, especially for a training manual, because then, especially if you're working with a virtual assistant, they can be in the document at the same time you are. You can see the changes they make in real time and you can all work on it collectively. And also, hey, if you are a small business that has a local team, like, I don't know, you're a real estate office or you're a wedding planner, you have your Monday morning team meetings, this is a great exercise that you can do as a team. Everybody open their laptops. We are going to take 7 minutes and document steps 1 through 20 of doing this one task. Everybody does it in the exercise. Then you collectively copy paste, throw it all into one document and pull all of it together. Because then you go, oh, Sharon said step 5 is so-and-so. I totally forgot that. Or Nancy said step 8 is don't forget this. And then that's, again, you're using the power of your team and their fabulous brains coming together into one document that you don't have to create this all by yourself.
Yes. Okay. This is really, really good. I think that, at the end of the day, what we're really talking about, Mary, is getting really, really clear about what we want so that we can set clear expectations, then providing the training and the procedures so that you're giving them the tools that they need to do well for you. It's really about coming from a mindset of setting them up for success so that they can serve your business and you the best that they can. It's totally. Like, don't ask somebody to, I don't know what the example is, like cook you a meal, but there's no groceries in the fridge. Like they could be the best chef in the world, but if you're not giving them what they need, there's no way they can perform at their best.
Totally. And again, I just want to really stress this point to hire a great VA who is super, super experienced in very niche things, right? You're not hiring one unicorn that does all the things. So your highly experienced, super niche VA might cost anywhere from $25 to upwards of $45 per hour. But again, it's different than thinking, oh my God, how am I ever going to pay that? I don't even pay myself that, like whatever. Then, you're only hiring them for maybe 5 hours a month or 5 hours a week, and you're getting that time back. You have to ask yourself, like, how much is your time worth when you delegate that off? And then you can truly focus on the things that generate revenue in your company.
Yes. So I'm going to close out with my final thoughts on this is that my business has up-leveled every time I fired myself. So I want you to think of what can you fire yourself from? I mean, when I fired myself from graphic designs, I reinvested that time elsewhere. When I fired myself from writing long emails that I agonized over and I collaborate now with my assistant on writing those, what that actually looks like though is like I get on Zoom or Loom, either one, and I hit record and I say what I want the email to say, and then she types it up. And it's so much more efficient. And so anytime that we find these things that are like hell no's or we're having resistance to or we're procrastinating on, and you fire yourself, you will find more flow and freedom in the things that you really, really, really shine at that can only serve your business well. And then the other thing that I wanted to say is that when we decided to bring on like a third person, so Jenny and my business, and the reason I'm using names is because anyone that's listened to my podcast for some time, like it's like a story where you know all the players, is that I asked Crystal, what do you not enjoy doing? What are the things that are hell yes, like you want to keep and I'm not going to, outsource to someone else? And what are things that you'd rather not be doing or that are slowing you down? And then I was also aware of things that were just not her zone of genius. And so when we decided to hire this third person, it was actually to pull things off Crystal's plate, pull things off my plate, and then also to do things that had never been done in the business. And so we used, we didn't use this document that you're sharing, which is, I'm looking through it as we're recording, which is really, really good. But we did take the time to get that clear.
Yeah.
And so as soon as we fired, now Crystal's sailing in her role even more. I'm sailing in my role more. And Jenny got hired because she said these are all her favorite things to do when I interviewed her. So that's the kind of thing where I'm just validating, Mary, everything you said about hell yeses and hell no's and leaning into our best parts is really the magic that we're trying to create with V.A.s here.
Totally. And you want to work with a team who loves the work that they're doing, right?
Yes.
So it's not a situation of delegating a task to them and they go, oh God, I don't want to do that. Like it's you find the magic people who are like, oh my God, I can't wait to do that, and that's what they're really good at. So yeah,
Exactly.
I trust me, there is somebody out there who loves to do the tasks that you absolutely hate. So have faith and you will find them.
Yes. Okay, Mary. So I think everyone just loves everything you're saying about this. And so how do they find out, connect with you, find out more about you, and maybe even connect with you through the interest of your agency, your VA agency?
Yeah, 3 ways. Okay. So first and foremost, you can find us online at thesimplifiers.com. That's our website. 2, you could listen to the Simplifiers podcast. So wherever you're listening to this podcast, go search for the Simplifiers, and we simplify all sorts of topics for small business owners in work and in life. And then 3, this little freebie that we're giving to your listeners today is a perfect way to get started in creating your own creative brief. And then it emails a copy to you. And if you want us to also review it and give us our recommendations as well, just click a button in that and go from there. And that's thesimplifiers.com/hire a VA.
Oh my gosh, that's great. So that's the little goodie that she's giving you. I mean, it's got some great thought-provoking questions. So go download that right away. Yeah, nope, don't download it. It's not a download. Go access it right now. and start filling it out. I love that. I asked you, hey, can you send me the download? You're like, it's not a download. Like they get to do it right then and there. So that was awesome. Thank you so much, Mary, for being here today and sharing your experience and expertise about hiring a VA. I think this is a huge topic that is so important to my listeners as, I'm over here talking about delegating and they're thinking, and to who and how. So this was a very much needed conversation. Thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. You guys, remember, you're in charge of building a business that actually serves you. So keep things simple.
I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Mary as much as I did. I think that the conversation around hiring great people is never ever going to get old, because I can literally look at my business and tell you that one of the biggest opportunities for growth has always been hiring the right person. And sometimes we are in the unknown and we're not sure, well, what is the right person and where do we find the right person and how do we lead and partner with somebody on our team? And Mary and I's conversation covered on so many different aspects of that to, I hope, encourage you that if you were on the fence or about hiring a VA, or perhaps you have one and they're not exactly working out as you'd hoped, I hope this encourages you to go take action, that it is essential and so important to build your dream team around you. I have loved having you listen to Productivity Straight Talk, but I need to be straight with you. No change, no change. Without taking action, nothing will change for you or your business. So based on my conversation with Mary today and what you heard, what hit home for you? Maybe you learned a different way to document your processes that will really support your team to serve you at a higher level. Maybe you got a big aha from where you can find great talent, or maybe a little tips about how the interviewing process goes with a virtual assistant. But I don't want it to end there. And you know me and I know you, and I know that you're here because you want to take action to grow your business, maximize your profits, and reduce stress. And I truly believe that the first next step to that is always about taking the next right action in your business. So based on today's episode, what is right for you? What will you walk away from and be changed just a little bit to improve your business? Are you ready to achieve success in a big way? If that's a hell yes, then it's time to power up your productivity. Perhaps you've considered working with me and you're not quite sure what the best way for us to work together is. I totally understand. And I am inviting you to have a discovery call with me. And during our call, we will figure out what the best next steps are for you and your business. You can schedule your discovery call by going to theproductivityspecialist.com/call. Again, head on over and schedule your discovery call at theproductivityspecialist.com/call. If you're not already a Productivity Straight Talk community member, you can join us for free by going to productivitycommunity.com. Again, you can join us for free on the inside over at productivitycommunity.com. And I want to thank you so much for continuing to support Productivity Straight Talk. You're sharing these episodes and it is showing. I don't want you to stop. I want you to give the gift of improved productivity and maximize profits. If this episode or any of the episodes I've shared with you hit home for one of your entrepreneurial business friends, I would love for you to share it with them. And be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss another episode as I drop a new one every Monday. So that's my straight talk for you today. And until next time, have a productive week.